This is Tuesday, March 26th. Thank you very much. 2013. And yes, you are in the Activator Stream Calling system, and what they didn't say is how it relates to sight. So, and before I say that, I've written 2 books. They're $25 a piece unless you happen to find one with a broken back, and then it's $20, but you're not allowed to break one to get it for $20. So just thought I'd throw that out. But anyway, okay. So, who's read the books, and do you have any questions at this point? Before we ever start, I can start that way. Would you want... What? I'd have to read your lips. What did you just say to me? First book. Okay. The whole point of the Activator system is to give you material to call that you might not normally call. Now, to give an example, I'm going to jump to book 2. Okay? There's an activator in book 2 that deals with circulates from inverted lines. I've heard this mentioned before. We don't call circulates from inverted lines because we don't know how to use them. And if you do use them, you have to depend upon one square to dance it perfectly. I'm still looking for the perfect square. Doesn't exist. You're right. So it's nice to have something in your head that gives you variety with very little memory, that you don't have to watch the dancers for the resolution. You simply watch for the success and who does it. Now, from any activator box, which is basically a 0 box, and whoever wants to box the net, but you don't have to. As long as you're all facing the corner and everybody's in sequence and you're basically in an 8-chain through position, that's an activator box. So from there, so if you want to just start it easy, it's head square through 4. You put centers in. There's your inverted line, and the activator is this. Cast any fraction you want, all 8 circulate. Cast any fraction you want, and all 8 circulate. Depending on the fractions, you might the number one man might be right back in the southwest quadrant where you started him, and he might have flipped the square and gone to the northeast. But either way, no matter what fraction you used, they're in sequence with their corner. Everybody's in sequence again. So if you want to just have them swing the corner, everybody hinge and roll the face. I can demonstrate that if I get the 8 smartest people in a square. Don't all jump at once. It would be helpful if the number 1 man and the number 4 lady were genetically correct. Because sometimes we get 7 guys and 1 gal and all that. Okay. Yeah, that works. Okay. We need 2 more bodies. Okay. Here comes one. Okay. Thank you. All right. Let me turn this down just a hair. Okay. Rather than head square through 4, let's just have the heads pair off and face your corner. Now, does everybody understand what a quadrant is? When I talk about quadrants, anybody not understand what a quadrant is? We're good to go. Because, all right, just for the tape, right? I'm going to stand in the middle of the square called the flagpole, and if I pretend I'm a stopping guard, put my arms across your hands, that's one axis, and then if I turn the other way so my hands go behind the backs of the centers, and that defines the quadrant. So from the caller's point of view, number 1 man, number 4 lady, you're in the southwest quadrant. So do this for me. Put centers in, and you'll have to help. You'll have to help because this guy will end up on this end of the wave when you first try. Then 1 man's going to end up on the end. Number 3 man also maybe. Because the boys, when you step to a handhold like this, it has to be a wave of the boys on the end, correct? Aha. Dancer think. How do we normally call it? Exactly. Okay. So I'm sorry about the loud noise there. Just put your finger in your ear and I'll know. Okay, there you go. That's right. Okay, so now interestingly enough, if you do cast off 3/4 both times, I want you to watch what the number 1 man does. He is in an out-facing girl's position if this was an out-facing line. Everybody cast off 3/4. He's now basically in the girl's position of an in-facing line. If I had the ends turn around, it'd be a half-sashayed line. Now, initially, I wouldn't call all 8 circulate, but I might do this. Ends circulate, please. Go to the other end. And center circulate straight through. Okay, so that's the fraction of the all 8 circ. Now, he was in that position. Here's the point. The second fraction is the same as the first. Cast off 3/4, check a brand new line. And when I have this guy, number 1 man, circulate again, he is in the same position, relatively speaking, that he was before. He's in, if we had everybody facing in, he'd be in the girl's position as the center of the line. So it's the same type circulate, but toward a different wall, so it looks tougher than it is to the dancer mind. That's important. All 8 circulate, centers across, ends to the other end. Now, I know ahead of time they're in sequence. Everybody has their corner, correct? With two 3/4 casts, and I didn't know this in advance. It doesn't really matter. I just need to watch the number 1 man, as long as I stay within the system, because I am a right and left grand away from being home. We're not going to have to promenade. Because if I convert this, one way or another, to a get out, to an Alaman left or in this quadrant, or right and left grand, which would begin for him at the north pole, he'll finish the right and left grand out the south pole, and I can say bow to the partner, or just when you meet your partner, you're home. That's a wow get out. Anytime you don't have to say Alaman left, right and left grand, and promenade home, you're taking major steps away from terminal mediocrity. Personal belief. So we're going to do this. Since this particular setup, and I know if we hinge and roll, we're going to be in a half sashayed activator box. Everybody hinge and roll to face. And the half sashayed activator box has some cool properties to it like this. Pass through and do a right and left grand. And when you meet your partner, you are okay. So now we're going to work the inverted line circulate differently, but with the same activator, right? Let's have the sides pair off this time and put centers in between the outsides. Okay. Now, just for fun, cast off half. So we'll practice half cast-offs. Now you have to define the all 8 circulate form. Do you understand when you're doing facing circulates, you're teaching them load the boat without teaching load the boat? How much easier to make load the boat to teach when you get to it? So we're going to do an all 8 circ, but first time I would do it individually. So ends circulate by passing. Centers circulate by doing a partner trade with each other. That's what it equivocates to. Now everybody cast half. Okay, and we're going to have we're going to have the number 1 man come right back over here to the southwest quadrant this time. So the centers are going forward, I explained. The ends are going to the other end. All 8 circulate. You're passing somebody. Go on over. Try not to step on my microphone cords. Okay, you did well. Okay, good. Now, what do we have here? An activator inverted line in sequence here. Now, sometimes you don't know what you have until you hinge and roll to face. So do that. Hinge and roll to face. Look at that. We're half sashayed. Now hold hands. Yeah, there you go. We're in a half sashayed activator box. Everybody pass through, square your sets. When it was a half sashayed activator box and the number 1 man was in the northeast quadrant, it was passed through right and left grand in your home. When the fractions put the number 1 man in the southwest quadrant, and we converted to a half sashayed activator box, it was passed through in your home. Any questions to this point? Except you'd like me to go back to book 1, huh? Okay. Now, okay, question. Michael, let's put you on the... I'd like all questions. This is being recorded apparently. So
Michael Maltonford, just in terms of terminology, when you use the word activator, doesn't mean anything to me.
Doesn't mean anything to you, but that's because I invented it. And don't try to get inside my head either. There's nothing in there. Okay. Heads pair off, face your corner. This is a 0 box, correct? Okay. A 0 box requires standard couples, the 0 couple, 0 formation. It requires It requires an 8-chain through position, which I strongly object to the terminology, because at mainstream that requires standard, because you can't courtesy. You're not supposed to courtesy turn unless it's a boy turning a girl. At mainstream, these are end-to-end boxes. Ocean waves are side-by-side boxes. These are end-to-end boxes. This is a facing column, but this is also a 0 box. Everybody touch a quarter and roll. This is not a 0 box, but this is an activator box. In the near column to the caller, the 4 people nearest the stage touch a quarter and roll. Are we asymmetric? To most minds, but not within the activator system. So you have all these different options you can do. So if we do activator 3R, which is any fraction, centers trade, centers run, bend the line, and then we pass through, wheel and deal, and centers pass through, it's going to move the number 1 man to that quadrant from southwest to northwest, which means if I convert to a right and left grand, he's going to finish for about of the part and you stir the bucket. We know all of that in advance, simply by this activator. Touch a quarter. That's the quarter turn of the, we're just going to do a quarter turn. Oh, what the heck, I want to scoot back. Scoot back, because I used it without the scoot back last week, and I want the dancers to think I'm smart. Okay, so here's what we do. Centers trade, centers run, bend the line. Ooh, let's see. We got all the boys in one line, all the girls in the other line. Is that correct? Say yes, Mike. Okay, good. Yes, good answer. Everybody pass through. Wheel and deal. And the centers pass through and the activator's over, but I would immediately say star through, connecting lines, please. Outfacers trade, and before you know it, I have converted into the always get out, which is star through, anybody facing out trade. Now, you already did that. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. Square through 3, and I'm watching for the number 1 man. Alaman left, come back to your partner. Oh, he's going to be at this pole over here. Right and left grand. He was at the west pole, and when he gets to the east pole, bow to the partner, you've stirred the bucket. Because you know that ahead of time. Circle left 4 steps, going back home. Questions to this point? Okay, now that's how the activator system works, but if we take that same, I'm going to do one more of these. When we take activator 3R and make it activator 3L, means we're going to go left-handed, it actually moves the number 1 man instead of from the southwest to the northwest. It moves the number 1 man from southwest to southeast. That means always get out, Alaman left, bow to the part, and you stirred the bucket. Or if we have a goofy situation, there's another way to do it that makes you look really, really, really smart. And you'd rather be really, really, really smart than just really smart, right? Okay, good. Yes, Mike was the proper answer. Yes, okay, good. Okay, so we'll have the side start, and we'll start left-handed. Sides left square through 4, because we want them to know there's something really different coming, so I've changed my voice. Left touch a quarter. We're doing it with a quarter fraction. Centers trade, centers run, bend the line. Does this not sound like the other activator with the centers trade, centers run, bend the line, pass through? But we have to remember that we are in the left-handed version, so there's a fix that happens right here. We're not going to wheel and deal. Tag the line all the way through and then face in. That fixes it. Pass through, wheel and deal, and the centers pass through and touch a quarter. But before we did the touch a quarter, I knew that we were in a facing activator box right there. And so I did a touch a quarter because I'm starting into the always get out. Okay? So we don't have the seam between the figure and the get out where the dancers seem to know we're fishing for the corner. Scoot back. We're going to do that because I want the number 1 man in the middle. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I don't want to lose this. Let's see. Because she's your original partner over here, isn't she? No? Yeah, you are. Okay, no, we're going to do this. Hinge. All the boys do a U-turn back. Ends only bend the line. And you stirred the bucket. So that's in the book. Circle left 4 steps. Questions to this point? Okay, who thinks they're a side caller? Mr. Randy Doherty, would you like to come up here and have me, let me have you demonstrate a theory that I'm going to tell you what I want you to call. Okay, and I want you to be nice. Don't break the square down. Okay, because here's the point. because Randy understands this.
I don't understand a word you said for the last 5 minutes. A lot of new terminology to me.
So what we're going to do here is you're going to call, and the point is this. I want you all to keep track individually, if you can. Were you able to touch every person's hand in the square? Don't have to be both hands, but if you touch her hand once, what you're doing now, touch hers once, his once, hers once, his once, et cetera. Everybody does that, and you have to be in all 4 quadrants. So I want you to call and move them around, and just watch the number one man and make sure he goes through all the quadrants and make sure he touches as many different hands as possible. You and I both know that the hardest hand to touch will be the other head boy, because you're going to have him in a middle wave and have them trade in the middle wave or something. You know that, but most callers don't know how to get him there. Are you prepared to call and move the number one man around the square?
Sure.
Okay, do you want some music?
No.
Okay. Okay, just mainstream, just easy stuff.
Okay, head square through 2.
Okay, that's good.
Swing through.
That's good.
All 8 circulate twice. Boys make it 3 times.
Okay.
Hinge. Centers trade. Center 2 boys diagonally pass through. Same boy run left.
Same boy run left. There you go.
Good. Everyone hinge. Everybody circulate. Everyone face in.
The face in is in the glossary. It means a spot
box.
turn a quarter in the direction of the center of the square.
Double pass through. Face in. Pass through. Half tag. Face in.
Okay, that's good enough. You've moved them all around.
I thought I moved them around.
Okay, yeah, you accomplished it. Amazing. Did you see how you interacted throughout the entire, like a kaleidoscope? That's what real side calling is, because he was not concerned with the resolution. But about now, he's starting to think about it. Okay? Now, the point is this. Here's the number one man. That's the partner. Who's your corner? I forgot. You are, and who's your partner?
Right behind her.
Okay, so your job is to do some sort of a resolution in as few calls as possible without, breaking them down. Keep the wind in the face kind of thing. And
Girls pass the ocean. Center girl run. Girls half tag. Girls trade. In facing girl, you turn back. In facing girls, you turn back. All star through. All Ferris wheel. Center sweep a quarter, and are you home?
okay.
Is that what I was supposed to do?
That is exactly what you're supposed to do. You pass with an A. You can go back to sleep now. It's okay. An activator is a module with a variable. It's a module with a variable. That's what it is. So, if an activator box just simply means facing the corner with everybody in sequence, that means we don't have to start with a normal get-in. We can do something like this. Heads pass through, which is in book 1. Separate, round 1, make a line. Pass through, wheel and deal, and the girls do a U-turn back. Now, is that a zero box? I don't think so, but it sure sounded like a gotcha call, didn't it? You didn't. The answers don't know you've actually gotten to where you need to be to begin. But we're facing our corner in sequence. But it had the benefit of starting the number one man for the first activator I'm going to call. That was the starter. A get-in is a CALLERLAB term that takes you from a squared set to a known zero formation like a zero box. A starter takes you from a squared set to an activator box, and that's what we've got here. Boys paired, girls paired, doesn't matter. You're facing your corner in sequence. So let's assume that rolling of the eyes you did scared me. I'm afraid to call anything else. So we're going to do the always get out, Alaman left, right, and left grand, and we're going to be home because the number one man is in the northeast quadrant. Star through, check lines of 4, everybody, please. Those facing out do a partner trade. Everybody, square through 3. Alaman left, come back and find your partner, do a right and left grand, and the lady that rolled her eyes is going, phew. And when you get there, say, whoa. All right, So we're going to start this again. We're going to start it again with the sides. Sides pass through. Separate round one, make a line. Now, before I said pass through, wheel and deal, but some wise guy here is saying he called this before. I know what he's doing. So instead of saying pass through, wheel and deal, and this also is in the book, you do this. Pass through, tag the line all the way through. Now, I can face either right or left. It makes no difference, but just to be different, face left, centers trade, Ferris wheel. Centers do a U-turn back. Are you facing your corner? No. Okay, I messed it up. Go home. I crossed two of them in my head. That's why I side call. Let me show you this one. This is another starter. This is more of a gotcha kind of thing that puts wind in the face for the next activator. Heads touch a quarter. All the girls pass through. Everybody face in, check lines of 4. Pass through, wheel and deal, boys to the middle. Boys pass through. Are you facing your corner? In sequence. Number one man is in the northwest quadrant. So if you do your star through, out facer trade, square through 3, Alaman left, he's going to start his right and left grand at the west pole. He finishes at the east. You've stirred the bucket. But I'm not ready to stir the bucket. I don't want to do that just yet. Go back home. I want to show you how you can blend plus into this in a DVD way that's rather simple. Let's have the heads touch a quarter. Girls pass through. Everybody face in. Pass through. Wheel and deal. Anytime, if you're going to do the next activator right-handed or your get-out right-handed, and the activator finishes or the starter finishes with a centers pass through, you can instead do this. Step to a wave in the middle. Ping pong circulate. And again, ping pong circulate. And then extend. And you're in a right wave with your corner. Now, if I'm sighting or I understand the arrangement, I know that I can boys run, and you're in a corner line. So we'll just do that this time. Boys run around the girl, square through 3, and we'll do an Alaman left. And in this case, because I'm walking through stuff, I'll just say backwards promenade. You do that in workshops sometimes. Okay, questions at this point? I'll bring the mic to you, Randy. Randy Doherty.
When Jan rolled her eyes, there was a reason. This is Randy Doherty again. Yeah, there was a reason. Because of the flow, right? And the boys, when you gave them the chance to do the wheel and deal and you turned back, the boys did it wrong too. If the dancers danced what he called, it would be smooth. But you guys danced it all wrong. You know that. Let's show you, okay? Head, star through, and spread apart. Oh, you want to go faster? Pass through and wheel and deal. And the girls, when you do a U-turn back, you both be turning to the left. Very good. So you got to remember that a U-turn back, if it's a spiral or laterally, that's the direction. Okay? If you're on a spiral or laterally, the U-turn is always in that direction. We teach at our beginner classes, U-turn back is always face your partner or towards your partner, don't we? Sure it does. That's because the definition says you're supposed to do it that way. All right. So my question is, when you had the corner line and you had the, is that called an activator corner line? Or
no, once you get to a corner line, you can continue with the activator system, or you have a standard.
Can square your set.
Go ahead and square your sets. Once you have a corner line, that's a CALLERLAB term, that's a CALLERLAB arrangement, and then you can cite, you can go to modules, or you can stay within the activator system. But you have to be in a CALLERLAB formation if you want to get out of the activator system early. Does that make sense? You had to be in a corner line. And halfway through the always get out does it. So let's do this. Heads pair off, face your corner. Just the sexiest ones touch a quarter and roll. Okay, that works. That works. That works. You get a good laugh out of that. It's asymmetric, but we're activator. So we're going to do activator number 1, which is going to put the number 1 man back in the same quadrant where he started. So we'll do this. Touch a quarter. Let's see. The box of 4 on the caller's right, scoot back. Just have fun, right? Okay. Centers trade, centers run, Ferris wheel. and they think, oh, we screwed this up. Centers pass through, you're facing your corner. So we'll do the always get out. Star through, make lines. Those facing out do a partner trade. Okay, good. Everybody's square through 3. But this time we'll just say make a line facing out instead of saying Allemande left. And we'll say centers do a U-turn back, ends face in, and square your sets. And so you do that way. Chris.
So can you give in CALLERLAB terms maybe what an activator is?
Activator is not a CALLERLAB term. An activator is a sequence of calls that is simply a module with a variable that takes you from an activator box to another activator box. It does not necessarily take you to a CALLERLAB termed 0 box. Not necessarily. It goes from activator box to activator box. They're like Legos. They fit together.
It's a memorized sequence of calls.
It is a memorized sequence of calls that gives you a lot of variety with one memorized sequence. So let's say we want to do this starter left-handed. So let's have the sides do a left touch a quarter. Those directly facing, that'll be the guys, pass through. We'll have the centers pass through, and everybody face in, check lines of 4. Ooh, we're half sachet to begin with. Pass through, wheel and deal, and the centers pass through. And if I saw somebody hesitating on that wheel and deal, I do this. Pass through again, do a right and left grand. He starts at the North Pole. I might not have known that, but I saw him do it. Square your sets in your home. So now we'll try this again. And you know all that ahead of time because it's defined where you finish each one. It's defined how far you move. So we'll do this. We'll start again. Sides left touch a quarter. Those directly facing pass through. That's the boys. Centers pass through. Everybody face in. Check lines. Good. Pass through. Wheel and deal. Centers pass through. Now, we're doing either mainstream workshop, we're doing some plus. We're going to go to an activator that involves an 8-chain. Because when we're doing 8 chains, we're doing even numbers, 2, 4, and 6, and 8. Sometimes we do an 8-chain 1 to an Allemande left, sometimes an 8-chain 3 to an Allemande left. We never do an 8-chain 3 to other choreography. This activator does it. 8-chain 3. And make sure the outside stay facing out, I tell them, because they'll courtesy turn on you, and that is another hand, and some dancers don't have that part in their head. Centers pass through, put centers in, cast off 3/4 round, check your line. Good. Pass through, wheel and deal. And we put the sexy ones, yeah, there was, did you notice I had 50-50 opinion on that? Centers square through 2, cloverleaf. Girls do a U-turn back. Well, here's the deal. You're in that puts you in an activator box. You're facing your corner in sequence, but no, you can't pass through right, left, grand. You can only do that from a half sashayed facing activator box. This is the same sex. How do you convert that to modules? Because that much different stuff, some of the dancers, behind that smile is sheer terror. So you want to get back to something normal. So we'll simply go to activator number 1, which is simply a variation of swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, centers pass through. It's just a variation off of that. So we'll do this. Touch a quarter, boys connected. We look normal. Boys trade. Boy run right around the girl. We'll Ferris wheel. Are we starting to feel normal? Centers pass through, Allemande left. Promenade home a quarter. So we convert it out to modules. Bob, you're a side caller. Why don't you come up here and do something for me? Oh, you're asleep? Somebody else want to try? Somebody else want to move them around site-wise? Jeremy, you want to come in here? What is the goal of site calling?
Before he volunteers, he wants to know what he's getting.
The activator system gives you something beyond, it does 2 things for you. It gives you something beyond standard modules to call. Because you're watching the number 1 man, it teaches you to follow that person through the square, so it's the beginning of good side calling. The third thing it does, actually does 3. The third thing the activator system does for you is when you go to workshop something, some of our rudimentary calls, the ones that all square dance calls are made of, that should be taught as elements, not just other calls, which is circulate, run, trade, and cast off. Those should be rudimentary calls that are just drilled from every single position, not necessarily on the same night. But one of them, and keep going and keep going through them, and it begins to teach you side calling. Point is this: I want you to call and just move, and you're going to watch number one man, but I don't want you to think resolution. So you just move the number one man through all four of the quadrants, touch as many different hands as possible, and when you think you've done that, we'll just stop, and then you get to tell me if he's done that. Okay? You need to wake up to do this. You were taking a nap. I know that. You were like a horse. You were standing there asleep.
I was.
Yes, okay.
All right. Head square through 4.
Jeremy Butler is doing this from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Maybe you didn't want me to say that.
Touch a quarter. Scoot back.
You're going to do it again.
Boy run. Past the ocean.
That didn't count.
All 8 circulate. Swing through. Boy run around a girl.
Okay, have you two head boys touched hands yet? Okay, so
you want them to touch?
Yeah, I want them to touch hands.
All right, Ferris wheel. Center single circle tool wave.
Thank you. Which is precisely why you should do that and teach extend so that the boy comes to a boy and a girl comes to a girl. It's the beginning of DBD. It also allows those two people to touch hands. Extend. Thank you. Okay. Is there any hand here you didn't touch in that sequence?
I'm pretty sure we did them all this time.
We did them all. So here's what we do at this point. Now, if you were a new caller, I would say now I would point out the partners. So who is your partner, sir? Your original partner. Oh, the round-eyed, twirly-eyed lady. That's number 1. This is number 4 here, and I would say, get them home.
Get them home.
Get them home as quickly as you can.
Split circulate. Girls trade. Swing through. Boy run. Girl trade. Couples circulate. Ferris wheel. Center sweep a quarter.
If you had them star through, it would have been. But
Couldn't see her. Everybody was
I
in
know
the
she's hiding behind everybody else. It's being vertically challenged. It's right. So that was 8 calls. That was good. That was good because rather than just do it 3 calls, it's better to do it 6 or 8 calls and keep the wind in the face so they don't know you're searching for the corner. That was good, Jeremy. Butch Adams.
You've used the term starter 3 or 4 times. What did you mean by the word starter?
Starter.
You said I'm going to do a starter, and I wasn't sure what you meant by the word starter.
A starter takes you from a squared set to an activator box. The activator takes you from activator box to activator box. And the get out is to home or a right and left grand or to an Alaman left. That's what a starter. That's what a starter is. Takes you from a squared set to an activator box. Any other questions at this point? Okay. Is everybody still awake? Should I have a test? Okay. Butch Adams. I think we're recording.
So are you sight calling the starter?
No, it's memorized.
So there are written starters in your book.
Correct.
So you're simply, when you did that, you called one of those starter routines that was in the book.
And obviously one of them I didn't remember correctly. So.
Okay.
But yes.
So a starter is not something you've done yourself to move the people around. You've got it written down.
Got it written down.
And then you do one of the activator modules, and then you do something to get them out, which is also written down.
Right.
So this is a series of memorized modules, but from different positions.
Yeah, exactly. And the optional fractions give you different options to do it. However, you can set up your own activator box. Let's do this. Heads pair off rather than square through forward. Everybody do a right and a left through, and then do a half sachet. Most callers think when you're half sashayed, it's like having your underwear on backwards. So they have to quickly convert to a 0 formation, like they would do a star through and roll to face. But you're in an activator box. facing the corner in sequence. Okay? So if you're practicing keeping the girl on the left, you can now go to the right and left through veer left Ferris wheel module. Just to understand, you're going to bring it back to this, not a zero box. Do a right and left through, and she turns him, veer to the left, and Ferris wheel, and the centers pass through, and you're there. Now the half sashayed box has a lot of variety to it like this. Touch a quarter, and when I scoot back, guess who gets to do it first? I've had girls complain, how come the boys always get to go first? Scoot back. Okay. So so you can scoot back as many times as you want. So you know what? I think some of the boys were a little sloppy on that scoot back. Just taught it last week. They're a little new. So let's scoot back again, please. Okay. And I'm thinking, oh, you know what? I don't think Teresa's quite got it over here. So could this box, please, right here, just you box, could you scoot for me, please? Just this box? Okay, she got the practice she needed. You all got the rest, right? We're still in an activator box wave. So we'll just use activator number 1 to get out, and that's the centers trade, run, Ferris. Centers trade, centers run around the ends. Ferris wheel. Keep her on that side. Good. Centers pass through, and we know they're facing the corner. You can say, "Are you facing your corner?" They say yes. They have a wow like, okay, I'm good to this point. Because you don't want them to get almost all the way home and then break down, and then they don't know where they did. They think they failed the whole sequence. They've succeeded to this point. So we'll do this. Star through. Anybody facing out, do a California twirl. Square through 3. And in this case, we'll just say a la man left rather than do something tricky and score your sets. Okay. So we just set one up. So let's see. Any questions to this point? Is anybody awake? Randy, do you want the microphone?
So the activator system, if you were going to do asymmetrical stuff like you did, and you do that memorize, centers trade, centers run, Ferris wheel pass through, brings you back. And then as your memorize, get out, star through, and the outside's partner trade?
Out facers.
Out facers?
Yeah.
So that's memorize, and that's what you do every time?
And especially if you've gone asymmetric, yes, that's what you do every time.
Okay. Starting to see it, I think. I still. Okay, number 1, couple half sachet. And the head step to the middle. Did I say number 1? Is that what I said?
So you're not in the activator system because you have sashayed partner. And he's in the wrong quadrant. The activator system does not do partner sachets.
Okay, square through 3. U4 cloverleaf. So my number 1 man is with his number 4 lady. That's the activator box, even though this is unsymmetrical?
No, you were not in an activator box because they're not facing the corner in a column-style box.
I thought you said
sequence.
in your system you'd only have to watch the number 1 man and the number 4 lady.
If you stay within the system, you didn't stay within the system.
These 2 people are on the wrong.
You did not stay within the system.
Oh, so that's not legal then, huh?
Not in this system.
Okay.
Zoom. You're on your own.
All right. Star through, and the leaders trade. Okay. That was kind of your little get-out thing, right?
Applied differently outside of my system, yes. Yes. Steve, you want to be on the mic? Where'd he go? Right over. Oh, Gary, you're okay. You're next.
I don't know for sure.
Steve Anderson.
Let me give this a try, if you don't mind, just to show what an activator box is. Heads pair off. But if we have anybody change places within their quadrant, so if these 2 change places, you guys change places?
Actually, that's not a trade. Don't call it a trade.
Okay, not trade, but I mean trade places. Okay. We still have an activator box because the definition says that you have with your corner and you haven't changed their quadrant. And if these 2 traded places, if you did a right and left through, would that change your it would change your setup then, because you're changing their quadrant and
Correct.
not that half over there, but just this half.
That is not how you go asymmetric within this system.
Okay.
Within the activator system, that is not how you go asymmetric. You go asymmetric by having the original number 3 man and 2 lady touch a quarter and roll, which is what you did.
Right.
They already did it. That made it asymmetric. That's okay. But whenever you go asymmetric, you are changing the position of corner people while you were all in sequence. Okay? So, in other words, watch this. Star through. Did anybody change quadrant or being in relationship with the corner? Bend the line. Did anybody change that? Boy fold in front of the girl. Did anybody change that? Touch a quarter. Did anybody change that? Scoot back. Did anybody change that? Boy run around the girl. Did anybody change that? Bend the line. No. That's the point. Anytime you have them in sequence with corner, you can change them back and forth. Okay? So you could even get weird. This steps out of the system a little bit. You got to be a side caller to do this, but past the ocean or understand a lot about choreography. Yeah, we'll wait for that. So I know I quote put them across the street. They're out of sequence, right? So I would say everybody hinge, and the boys in the box nearest me run around the girl, and the other box have the girls run around the boy. And since that's just broken flow enough, I'll make them wait a second and say bend the line. And I know that they're across the street activator. Okay, so we would do this. Past the ocean, now I know we're in an activator box wave. We flip the square. Everybody hinge a quarter and roll to face. And we're in an activator box. Does everybody see that we're in an activator box? Okay. Okay.
In other words, you're back to the setup that I set up at first, that you still have your corners. Everybody's facing their corner in sequence.
Yes. When you did certain people touch a quarter and roll while they were facing the corner in sequence in an activator box, you changed nothing in the activator system. You did everything. You made it weird, but you actually did nothing to the system. Okay, so at this point, we might say do a right and left through, because that's a good thing to play with even at mainstream. You want to workshop people, get them used to doing courtesy turns like this. Veer to the left, Ferris wheel, and the centers pass through, and we're right back. Okay, so we might do this, star through, and if I was really weird, I'd take the music off and say, "No, I want to talk to y'all," because they're all showing me their backside, right? And I'd say, "Whoops, no, everybody California twirl and face me, and I want to thank you for coming tonight," and blah, 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 okay? But you're in an activator box line, so bend the line, and guess what? I'm looking around, and you're all now in a zero line. It's a corner line, okay, right? So, and I know that a square through 3 and an Allen man left and a right and left grand is going to start rich over here at the North Pole. Square through 3, Allen man left, and do a right and left grand. And when you finish it, just bow to the partner, and we'll do a sing and call. And okay, good. And any questions? Because at this point, I'll show you a creative use for a stir of the bucket. Start to make some sense. Gary, there's a switch there.
Yeah.
Station
Gary
name,
Felton,
please.
Maryland.
Gary Felton, go ahead.
Your introduction says this is a box module with a variable. Show me the variable.
Okay. Heads pair off. Step 2, a wave. I'm starting right-handed. If it's a zero fraction, let's just stay with activator number 1. Okay, so it's always going to be centers, trade, centers, run a Ferris wheel. And if you get sick of it, you don't have to say Ferris and centers pass. You could just say wheel and deal. Okay, but this is the zero fraction. We're doing nothing with the corners. Centers trade, centers run around the ends, and this is usable. Ferris wheel, keeper on the left, keeper on the left, keeper on the left. Centers pass through, and you're in an activator box. So touch a quarter, which is the quarter turn of the fraction. Now scoot back, and do you see that a touch a quarter and a scoot back equals a cast off 3/4, except it dances differently? Centers trade, centers run around the ends, Ferris wheel, and the boys pass through, and we're in an activator box. Okay? The variable was the initial fraction. From the activator box, I can go either right or left-handed. You can go either the 0 fraction, the quarter fraction, the half, the 3/4, or the 4/4.
Now do the touch a quarter. Next time do touch a half. And next time touch 3/4. You'll see.
Okay, so this time we did the touch a quarter, and we did the touch a quarter in the scoot back. So let's do this. Touch a half. Just touch and trade. There you go. That's the half fraction. Centers trade. Centers run around the ends. Ferris wheel. And the centers pass through, and every time it brings the number 1 man back to the southwest quadrant where he started. So let's do it left-handed now. Left touch a quarter. That's the left quarter fraction. Centers trade. Centers run left. Ferris wheel. It's good to practice these uphill, quote, Ferris wheels. Centers pass through. This guy might not know he's still in the same quadrant because now he's looking at a sidewall instead of a head wall. He's a center instead of an outside. Yeah. Understood. Left touch a quarter, and I, as a caller, just changed my mind. So left hinge a quarter more, and now let's practice. We're going to scoot back with a left hand. Scoot back left-handed, come back to a left hand. So by doing the left touch a quarter and the hinge and the scoot back, that's the 4/4 fraction. Centers trade, centers run left. Ferris wheel, and now he's going to be in the outside half sashayed. It's a half sashayed box kind of up. Centers pass through. Everybody pass through and square your sets because of the half sashayed, and they probably had enough of me at this point. Okay, did that answer your question? That's the variable. Next question. Okay, I'm gonna. Huh? No, I'm not through with you. Do we want to? Does anybody want to fill in? Do you want out? Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to use activator 3R, so I'm going to start the number 1 man. The starter is going to take him from the squared set to the northeast quadrant. Okay. Then, let's see. I want to move him that way, so I'll use activator 3R, and when I Allen man left, he'll be stirred the bucket. So you know that ahead of time, right? So we're going to use the starter that puts you over there. And I'm going to do it with the wind in the face version involving the tag the line. So we're going to do this. Heads pass through. Separate, round one, make a line. This is a memorized sequence. It's in the book. Pass through. Now the initial version was wheel and deal, but right now we're going to do this. Tag the line all the way through. Face to the right. Okay. Ferris wheel. And the centers pass through. Are we in an activator box? Okay, very good. Now, activator 3R, so boys, do me this favor. Would you unpass through, please, just like you finish the Ferris wheel? Because I would, if I know I'm going to go into activator 3R, I don't stop them after the pass-through. That's the mistake callers make when they're doing modules or sight. They do what they're going to do, and all of a sudden when they're looking for the get-out, they hesitate, their voice changes, there's an urgency that wasn't there before. And the dancers know you're fishing. There goes your wow, you just blew it. So we do this. Boys pass through, touch a quarter, because the touch a quarter is the 1/4 fraction in the variable position. Okay, I could scoot back, but I'm not going to. Centers trade. Centers run around the ends. Bend the line keeper on the left because I want it to appear more difficult. It's not really that more difficult, but it appears to be. Pass through, wheel and deal. Centers pass through. Now, because it's half sashayed, I could say this: pass through, bow to the partner, you stirred the bucket. Okay. Can we put you back facing the corner again? You get to the outside, the half sash. Okay, right. Because I could have said pass through, but maybe that is not enough. Wow, you did that one last week. So now you do this. Touch a quarter. All the boys do a U-turn back, and it would be all the outfacers. Ends only bend the line. And there is the stir the bucket. Again, memorized, and you do these one at a time. So let me show you one of the other possible weird type get outs. Okay, let's do this. Heads pair off, face your corner. Touch a quarter. Scoot back. Did you understand that the touch a quarter and scoot back is a 3/4 fraction in the variable spot in the activator? Centers trade. Centers run around the ends. Ferris wheel. Did we notice the girls are going to the middle? Good. Everybody veer left. Extend. Tag the line 3/4 and everybody right and left grand. And when you meet her, promenade home. It's okay to do a right and left grand, do a promenade home part of the time if you didn't do an Alaman left first. Any other? On the mic.
I'm trying to learn your system. I didn't understand. Why is it the 3R? What is the 3R?
R means that activator has to be done right-handed. That activator has to be done right-handed. Activator 3R is any fraction, centers trade, centers run, bend the line, pass through, wheel and deal. Centers pass through. If you're left-handed, you'll be out of sequence. So activator 3L has a fix in the middle of it. You start with an any fraction, centers trade, centers run, bend the line, pass through. But you don't say wheel and deal yet. You say tag the line all the way through, face in, and pass through. And when you've done those 3 calls, now you can wheel and deal and centers pass through. And what that does to you, activator 3R, if it was right-handed, moves, heads pair off, please, moves the number 1 man from the southwest quadrant to the northwest. Activator 3R does. Because of that pass-through, tag the line, face in, activator 3L moves the number 1 man to the southeast. Over here. Do you want to see that one?
No, you did that already.
Okay. Do you understand what I just said? Any other?
So would you get anything if you did the right version, but then put the tag the line face in, and then how is it wrong?
If you do the right version and put the tag the line in, you have just put them out of sequence.
Is it a simple out of sequence, and you can just do something?
Well, let's find out. Let's find out. As I'm tired enough, I'm not sure I can answer that without. I can't answer that without checking it out. Touch a quarter. Centers trade. Centers run around the ends. Bend the line. I think I'm left-handed. Pass through. Tag the line all the way through and face in. Pass through. Wheel and deal. And I'm seeing centers pass through. And uh-oh, we're out of sequence, but we're still facing the corner. Okay. Square through 3, but on the third hand, what do you want to do? Touch a quarter. And we're in an activator wave. Now we're in sequence. It was a square through 3, but on the third hand. If you catch yourself out of sequence, but facing the corner, that's how you get out of it. Okay. So there is another way. Centers trade, centers run, bend the line, pass through. We think we're left-handed. Tag the line all the way through, face in, pass through, wheel and deal. I'm going to be out of sequence. Centers pass through. Do this for me. Do a right and left through. Girl, turn the boy. Turn the boy. Turn the boy. Kicking and screaming. Turn the boy. And now we're there. Okay? And I happen to know, as we've said before, if I'm in a half sashayed activator box and the number 1 man is in the northeast quadrant, everybody pass through, do a right and left grand. And when you finish the grand, you're home. So what was sheer terror turned out to be a wow get out. Okay. Questions? Comments? I do not have handouts. I have books for sale.
How many of these activator things are there? I mean, I assume
I've forgotten. 14, 15.
and there's like starts.
There's several starters, yeah. Okay.
It starts and
You get starters and you get the activators. Applications, some of the applications of it, if you're in the right-handed Ferris wheel and you happen to see the girls are going to the middle, after the Ferris, you don't say centers pass through. You say veer left, extend. If you half tag, you're in a corner wave with the boys in the middle. And if you did the tag 3/4 or the half tag and extend, you have a right and left grand situation. So again, those are defined as specialty get-outs. Okay, let's thank our square. Why don't we let them go sit down? So, all right, we don't have to artificially string this out, but I want to answer questions and take this in direction you want. Robert, do you have any questions at this? Anybody else have any questions? Because we can get another square up and do something. Do you want to be dismissed early? Butch Adams?
What would you recommend for a caller that wants to start to do this? What pieces or parts of the puzzle would you say to use as a learning curve? What would be the first thing you would want to learn, and the second thing you would want to learn, or the third thing? What steps would you advise a caller to take to start to learn your system?
Good question. I'm going to tell the Robert Kennedy story, because he told me he took activator number 1, spent 2 hours on the computer trying to break it, and he called me up and said it won't break. That's what you got to do. Take activator number 1, use a simple CALLERLAB get-in like head square through 4, and work activator number 1 with the 0 fraction, where you just step 2 away and have the centers trade, which is the girls, and go about it that way and watch them come back. And you've got the half sashayed box at that point. So as it says in lesson 1, pass through in your home. Or you can just take them home once you've understood that they are in an activator box. They're facing the corner in sequence. So now heads pair off. Now let's step 2 away and do with the quarter fraction. So have them hinge. Now the center, trade, run, Ferris, etc. Watch them come back to the activator box. Send them home. Do it with a half fraction. Heads pair off, step to a wave, turn half. Centers, trade, centers, run, Ferris. Then have the heads pair off, step to a wave, cast 3/4. Centers, trade, centers, run, Ferris. Then simulate the 4/4 fraction by having them touch a quarter, scoot back, and hinge a quarter. Now go with the centers, trade, run, and Ferris. Repeat the whole thing, 0, quarter, half, 3/4, and 4/4, left-handed, same activator. Do the always get out, star through, out facers, trade, square through 3/4, Alaman left, in your home if you started with a head square through or a heads pair off. Okay, name please.
Sharon Baldwin, Thomasville. Yeah, if you are working with dancers and you're trying to learn this, what level of ability dancers would you start with?
Well, you asking me or what I think you ought to do?
Well, as a newer caller.
As a new caller, you need the strength to be able to teach run. My batteries just died, my wireless. What you need to do with a beginner's class and be able to have the strength and the power to teach circulate, trade, run, and cast off as the rudimentary calls that they are, not just other calls like right and left through and star through. You need the activators to do that. That means you find an activator that has the centers trade or the cast off in it that you want to do. Activator number 1, where you can step to a wave and cast 3/4, have them practice that. Somewhere down the road when you're teaching, as I got an email from a new caller that bought the book last year, bought both books last year. His club came to him and said, we need circulates. We don't understand circulates. Can you workshop circulates? As a new caller, that would terrify me. Okay, so that caller took the circulate activators. If you're in an ocean wave, if you're in an activator box and you step to a wave, either right or left-handed, and it's a wave, you can cast any fraction and all 8 circulate as long as your next fraction is a half turn or a 4/4 turn or a no turn. Not an odd one, but an even one. When you all 8 circulate, they'll be in sequence. If they're in an inverted line, head square through 4, put centers in. We're going to practice those kind of circulates. It's any fraction, all 8 circulate. Any fraction, all 8 circulate, and they are always in sequence no matter what, from an inverted line. So that means you have the power to teach circulate from whatever situation you think would be good for them to do. And when you're in an inverted line, when they finish, just hinge and roll the face, star through and out facers trade. You're in a corner line. Now use some module stuff. from a corner line, or just say square through 3 and out a man left. That's what it does for you. It also helps to teach them to Ferris the other direction, to Ferris and keep the boy to keep the girl on the left when he does it, et cetera, et cetera. Jeremy, you're going to have to use this same mic I'm using because mine died.
Well, Jeremy Butler, Virginia Beach. What I wanted to make a comment on is this activator system. I listened to the session last year on the CD, and it was intriguing, and I wanted to play with it a little bit. The biggest use I've found for it is probably an unintended consequence, but this tremendously expands singing calls. The activator number 1 is short enough that you can replace, and the only thing you have to cite is the timing to throw in a couple of 0 nothings. So if you do a head square through 4, say I don't want to do the regular old swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, centers pass through, touch a quarter, scoot back, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I can touch quarter, centers trade, centers run, Ferris wheel, centers pass through, touch a quarter, and then do anything I want because I know I got my corner and I know I'm in sequence.
So back to Butch's comment that what do you do first as a new caller? Okay, so as you're working the folks, so you might say head square through 4 and touch a quarter. They're used to that, but they're all ready for a scoot back or a walk and dodge. So you say check a wave. Centers trade, centers run. Ferris wheel, you're putting the boys to the middle. Boys pass through. They probably fidgeted a little bit. Swinger and promenade home. If they really fidgeted, swinger and promenade short. You're in the southwest quadrant. The number 1 man is. He takes 2 steps in his home. Then you go back in the head square through 4, touch a quarter, scoot back, check the waves, centers trade, centers run, Ferris. Put the girls in the middle. Girls pass through. If you got a little extra time, touch a quarter and roll, swinger. If you got a little more time than that, touch a quarter and scoot back and then swinger. Because then you got a boy-girl scoot back going, but because the waves are closer together, they will do that. Randy?
I'm trying to keep an open mind. And I'm thinking back to what Denise said in our opening ceremony. I'm wondering if you've tried to reinvent the wheel by using new terminology and things. And I'm wondering, have you ever recorded your dance where you've done a mainstream dance using the activator system, and how many times did you do the Ferris wheel or the wheeling deal all night long? It sounds to me like there's a lot of going to be people getting dizzy if you don't unwind them the other way.
Good comment. Well, first of all, if you're going to unwind them, you go left-handed, which isn't always advisable. Okay? And if you're using the activator system primarily and almost always, you're making the same mistake as a caller who says they sight call all the time or they use modules all the time. What you want to be doing is a lot of your regular choreography. This, and thank you for bringing that up. This system, this activator system, is not meant to replace or anything you're doing. It's meant to augment. It puts more tools into your toolbox at a rate you want to put them in. That's what it does. So you still have to do the mainstream stuff and the regular stuff, etc. But there are times when we want to fish a little bit, do something a little bit different, and the risk in doing something different is getting more difficult. And you just don't want to get a whole lot more difficult if you don't have to. So we're emphasizing the activator system during this hour, but certainly it is supposed to be sprinkled into your dance like a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper on a meal. You don't want to take a hamburger and put 6 pounds of pepper on it. Well, maybe you do, but maybe that was a bad example.
This is Steve Anderson. For patter, you're out there and you're just, moving the dancers around. Not necessarily want to do a whole dance with this system, of course, but, you just, getting the boy, girl together and stuff like that. On a normal dance floor, you might not do this if you were going to a dance, mainstream dance, because they aren't used to boy, girl, a lot of that dancing and being half sashayed and everything. So you'd want to just workshop it a little bit and have fun with it. That's fine. And like that, is that what you're talking about?
Well, and that's why you use that's when you employ the activator system, is when you want to try to do something different. You're doing it in a memorized sequence that you can configure to the difficulty you think you want to try. Maybe it's only the quarter fraction. Maybe it's the quarter. It's the scoot back. You've added a little difficulty when it's a boy-girl scoot back because the waves are closer together after the touch of quarter. They'll do it. But certainly, yes, you sprinkle in a little bit. And, I mean, I've typically at a guest dance, I'll get to the third tip. And I haven't used any of the activator stuff yet. You get to the third tip. Well, now it's time to explore. If I'm going to explore a little bit, I want to make sure I don't have to depend on any square. So I want to do a scoot back with the girl doing it first. I want to do a boy run around a boy, girl run around a girl. We'll see how it goes. And there's been dances I've been at where I tried one sequence of that, and I thought, well, we'll have to do this one on another night. Because they're not going to do anything out of the normal. But it speaks to the question I get a lot, the club caller that calls for the same club every month, every week, every other week, and you struggle with how do I make it different and not more difficult. The activator system at the right moment can give you that power to do that variety and know where they are. Just call it. You know, if you got 3 squares and the 2 squares you're watching die and the one that did it's over here, it's like, I don't know where you are. I can't resolve you. Close your eyes. Remember the sequence. Do it. They succeeded. Maybe you want to go through it again for these people. Maybe they don't want to do it again, so don't do it again. So it's intended for that too.
Robert Kennedy from Liberty, North Carolina. I called a dance Saturday night, and I used Activator 1 twice, once for an at-home and once for a stir the bucket. And there's no walk needed. There's no babying or anything. I mean, they can do everything that's in there. So you don't need to workshop it at all. Just learn it.
That is true of activator number 1. However, your statement might not be true of head square through 4 and put centers in. This is a workshop tip. This is a workshop tip. You're correct about activator number 1. That you can sneak that one in just about anywhere. Questions? $25 a piece unless you find one with a broken back, then it's $20. But you're not allowed to break a back to get it for $20. No twofers. I couldn't get them printed twofers. No BOGOs. I think we're almost done anyway. It's a little after 5 o'clock, right? And the 8 people that danced so long up here in the square, I want to thank you all. Thank you all very, very much. Sometimes it's tougher to see, but I did appreciate the eye rolling because that is precisely what you look for. And I don't know what caused it, but when I'm calling and I see that, I go into sheer terror. You know, this square has to survive. That's all there is to it. So when something like that happens, it gives me the opportunity to point that out and what the caller should be looking for. So I thank all of you very much. So if you like the session, great, write it down, put in your comment sheet. You like that, you like what I did or whatever, just make sure you comment because that's how CallerLab knows what they need to do for the next CallerLab conventions. Thank you all so much.